Hello, Aries rising. This is Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology here with your Venus retrograde outlook. It's quite a long time if you really count the shadow of Venus retrograde. The shadow is a time period comprised of when it hits the degree that it's going to retrograde back to. So that would be, let me look and see when that would be. June 18th through October 7th is the actual shadow of Venus retrograde. So it's pretty long, you know. But the actual Venus retrograde is July 22nd through September 3rd. So those are important dates that bookend on either side. I'm going to share an infographic with you I'll draw on and we'll kind of talk about the upcoming dates. I'm going to go all the way through the end of Venus retrograde shadow because I think that's a good stopping point, and I'm going to do another video about the eclipses coming up. I'm going to hit on some of that because it's important to the Venus retrograde story in this video, but I'm going to do October through December at a later date on a different video. I think this will be a good amount of time to cover in this. So let's dive in, huh? Today is Monday, July 24th. Venus has been retrograde for 24 hours, a little more than that, actually. It went retrograde the evening around 8:30-ish of July 22nd. By the way, I am doing this from Central US time, so adjust for your local time and date. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the infographic, shall we? And this shows dates. It shows what's going on so that when you maybe if you're looking at this, you can pause it, you can look, you can see, okay, the shadow of Venus retrograde is June 18th or October 7th. Venus star point, that's when the sun and Venus come together, August 13th, and we'll hit on that. This is happening in your fifth house. So the fifth house is romance, love, creativity, purpose, inner child, children, play, fun. It's the house of good fortune. And you'll see here is your fifth house. There's Venus retrograde. There's your fifth house, Leo. Okay. So Venus retrograde is about a reevaluation. In Leo, you can almost say rebranding. Leo can be how you shine. Leo is related to your creative spark. It is very specific to you, how Leo comes out, how you play, what romance is like. Leo tends to want to be seen. So when you have Venus retrograde in Leo, you can say maybe it is a change in how I am seen, how I show myself, how I showcase myself, really. But in terms of your own specific chart, the fifth house, this would be, how do I showcase my creativity? How do I really connect with the idea of romance? What does that mean to me? What are my values in that area? Children can come up for you, whether you have kids or kids in your vicinity and your family. And the other thing that can come up is your purpose, what you're, passionate about, I think is really the fifth house topic. It is what drives you. It's what the passion is. So Venus retrograde there is like, maybe that's shifting. Maybe I need to refocus. And then we have these things, these transits, where it's going to square Uranus and Jupiter. That's a 90-degree angle, okay? So the squares are tension in astrology. And the squares generally move things, right? So I do like squares for that. If you want movement, squares are a good transit to have. Now, they're not comfortable, it's tension, right? But how do you move something? How do you pull it along without tension? You can't. So Uranus has been in your second house, which is assets, values, comfort, self-worth. It's material gain. It is what you love, pretty much, like what makes you feel comfortable, what you're attracted to aesthetically, what you're attracted to spend your money on. Second house, Taurus. Now, Taurus and Leo are both fixed signs. In fact, all of the fixed signs either square or oppose one another. Okay. So whenever the moon's in Scorpio, that's your eighth house, it's going to square Venus. It's going to oppose Uranus and Jupiter. Whenever the moon or anything else is in Aquarius, it's going to square Uranus and Jupiter, or oppose Venus. Okay, so that's important to note just for moon transits. You can watch where if the moon's in Scorpio or Aquarius, it's going to set off this square. So what is this square about? Well, Uranus is about change. It's about innovation. It's about shifting. It's about revolution and freedom. It is upheaval. It can be unexpected events. Okay. Uranus in your second house of material gain, assets, values, self worth, that can come under scrutiny and you want to change it, or you have changed it somehow. Maybe it's like, oh, I used to spend my money on Starbucks, but I really like matcha now. Okay. I know that's a very simple example. But it is a really good example because that's exactly what Taurus is about. What are we drawn to? And Taurus is also a fertile sign, meaning you can grow things there, you start things there, you nurture them and water them. And that's, I mean, Cancer is water, but Taurus is like, okay, we got to get this soil rich so that we can grow something there. So Uranus there is shifting what we're growing pretty much, right? Like what we value to nurture, to put a seed in the ground and grow from nothing. That is Uranus and Taurus. Now, sometimes it can result in freedom as well. Maybe you've made more money recently and you all of a sudden have this newfound freedom with money. And then the other thing is it could be the opposite. Maybe you don't have as much money as you used to, and that's changed. So it changes your values and your outlook and how you move around in the world and how you spend your money and how you save your money. All of that. Yes, Taurus and the second house are very intimately connected with material assets. Okay. Jupiter's expansion. Jupiter is a benefic planet. It brings benefit and good. So when you have Jupiter in the second house, that's looked at as a really fortunate time, where this area can expand, can grow. But Jupiter is also truth and philosophy. And so when you have that in Taurus in your second house, you're thinking of what is my philosophy around material possessions, around how I make my money, around what I'm worth, right? So that, I think it's a little nuance. Yes, it's good, but it's also encouraging you to seek a deeper meaning with regards to Taurus and second house topics. Okay. The interesting thing is that Taurus is ruled by Venus. Venus's home is Taurus and Libra. It's got two homes, of course, because Venus is a benefic. Venus is love, it's money, it's relationship. And so to have Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus ruled by Venus retrograde, this is surely going to change something this period of time, whether it be our relationships, whether it be who we're attracted to, how we play, what is fun for us, what is joy. Venus is going to inform you of that as it retrogrades, and also going to inform Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. Okay. So the squares are, you can imagine, and let's just play with this example that I gave you. Okay. Let's pretend you won the lottery. Jupiter and Uranus in your second house won the lottery. But you got this square from Venus retrograde in your fifth house. And you may not know how to have fun with that much money. And it would be something that you have to reevaluate and you go, what do I even like that's expensive, right? Like, I'm not used to this. That's a good and playful and far-fetched example of something that could be happening when Venus retrograde squares Uranus and Jupiter. Changes happen. We get a notion like, oh, okay, so I'm not making a lot of money at the job I like, but I really like painting. Why don't I use that for material gain and sell my paintings? There's so many ways this could come out. And it also could change things with regards to relationship and money as Venus squares these. Now, like I said, Venus is a benefic. It brings benefit. It is not something that I typically associate with bad things happening, but Venus retrograde reevaluations can cause you to need to take action on things that maybe you haven't taken action on. So when you think of, okay, my values are changing, the things I'm attracted to are changing, and Venus is retrograde in your fifth house of romance, this could result in, okay, I really don't like that guy anymore. Or it could result in, why don't we go out on dates anymore? And maybe I need to enliven that, and the square could be like, oh, well, we don't have the money to go on dates. So you have to be really creative with how you do that. So many different ways this could show up. Okay. But the dates for these squares, okay, they were actually already happening. So the first one would have been Venus square Jupiter, June 11th. Venus square Jupiter. Now let's just talk about that specifically. Venus square Jupiter can be spending too much money. You have Venus, love, and money. Jupiter, abundance and expansion. Square, they're like feeding off of each other, kind of. The tension's like, I want to have fun and do this. And Jupiter's like, yeah, I want to, do this with my money. And they're just doing it, right? So it can kind of expand things in a way that's not maybe good for us because it's too much good. I mean, is there such a thing? I guess there can be when you got your pocketbook open, right? So it's important to know these dates and know, okay, let me watch. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to feel so good that I make decisions that aren't really great. So June 11th could have been one of those days. And then you get a second one, August 22nd. That's as Venus is retrograde, though. Okay, so Venus will be retrograde as it squares Jupiter a second time, August 22nd. Now, the second one could be like, oh man, I spent a lot of money, that one day, June 11th, and I have the same opportunity come up, but I've reevaluated some things. Is that something I want to do? So, and then even if that doesn't happen, you get a third chance, right? But on all three of those dates, you could be getting insights into what you truly want, maybe from the tension of wanting two things at the same time. That's a Venus square Jupiter. I want fun and I want romance and I want joy and I want money. And both of those things are like, how do I get both? How do I get both? And it can kind of feel like, so much. So if you know that's coming, just look at that. Now that could be too much loving too. I mean, Venus is associated with relationships, right? And other people. And in your fifth house of romance and creation, just something to be aware of is all I'm saying. Okay, so that's Jupiter. Now let's talk about the square to Uranus. The first one happened July 2nd. And I'm telling you when they first happened so that you can maybe go back and look, what were you doing? Because it happens again August 9th and then again September 29th. Okay. So Venus on the move forward in direct motion, July 2nd, squared Uranus. This can be looked at like collectively, like the world, people, whatever, not just us individually, but collectively, Venus square Uranus can be economic upheaval. Again, Venus is good, but Uranus kind of both. Uranus can be good or bad. Uranus changes things. That's all Uranus is interested in. It's also interested in freedom, and it's also interested in kind of breaking the rules and doing things differently. Okay. So Venus square Uranus, maybe, that first one, something unexpected happened, or you had a realization. The second one, Venus is retrograde. Okay. So Venus retrograde can be more internal as well. So these could be more internal changes. But if something unexpected happened in romance or money, that would have been the times that they will peak is July 2nd, August 9th, and September 29th. Okay. So the third one tends to wrap up the theme of it. Uranus is innovating your second house of finances and self-worth. Venus retrograde is reevaluating what is creative and what is feels good when it comes to love and romance and when it comes to play and fun. And so these two things are negotiating. I think that's a good way to put it. All three of those dates. So I wanted to go ahead and get that out of the way because I think that's going to be the dominating moments during this cycle. Now let's talk about some other things. Okay. So to start with, the North Node, which is the eclipse point, has moved into Aries. The South Node, also the eclipse point, has moved into Libra. The South Node in Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus. So the eclipse point moves into a Venus ruled sign, and Venus goes, oh, yeah, I'm going to go retrograde. We got some things to kind of research over here and reevaluate. Maybe I need to rebrand. I don't know. Just thinking. So the South Node is what we're letting go of, what we're separating from. It can also be past life karma or just patterns in your own life that may be resurfaced that you need to redo or have a new relationship with. And speaking of relationships, the South Node is in your seventh house of relationship. So when we put this other layer on it, it really seems like relationship may come up for Aries risings quite a lot. Okay. The South Node being what we're separating from, what we're doing differently, Libra in the seventh house being other people. You can think that maybe some friendships, some clients, some maybe love partnerships will either change or be done completely with the South Node in Libra. And to kick it off, the South Node in Libra, ruled by Venus, which is going retrograde, is also in a sextile with Venus. A sextile is opportunistic. So in some way, this Venus retrograde is I don't know if you've ever seen like panning for gold or something like that, but it's shaking the pan to see what's in there. Like what do we need to get rid of? What's gold? That is this sextile to me. So the other thing is the North Node. The North Node's in Aries. This is your first house of self identity. It is independence, autonomy. I'm looking over here and I just crookedly did that. I've got these listed and I wanted to draw attention to it. So identity, self, independence, autonomy, authenticity, how you see yourself, how others see you. That is the first house. It's your body, right? The North Node is developing. It is the head of the dragon. Some say, we kind of throw ourselves into the North Node sometimes. Aries is very fiery. It's passionate. It's ruled by Mars, which I will touch on here in a second. So Venus is trine the North Node in the first house. Okay. And maybe you're panning for gold, seeing what you need to get rid of, and you catch a glimpse of yourself in the creek where you're panning for gold. Okay. And that's what the North Node is representative of. And we really go, okay, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is who I want to be. Venus retrograde in Leo, the rebranding thing takes on even more significance once we look at the North Node and the trine of Venus stationing retrograde, trying to that North Node in the first house. So rebranding based on what you love, what your creativity is, what you want to show about yourself. So that's the nodes, and that is a long cycle. It's 18 months that they'll be there. The eclipses are not until mid-October, which I will go over in a second video. So those are coming later, but I will spend more time on them in that video. I just wanted to go ahead and show how connected it is to Venus retrograde. Okay. Now, the other thing that we need to consider, and this is a consideration that's not totally linked to Venus, but it's still a consideration because it's happening during Venus retrograde. So we have, let me get this all set here. I have to draw Mars and the Sun and Mercury because they move too fast. So if I were to have put them on this graphic, it would not have worked very well. So there's Mars. Okay. So we got Mars in Virgo. On July 20th, Mars in Virgo, which is your sixth house of health, habits, daily life, routine. Mars can be frustration, and it's kind of doing this maybe anxiety thing in your sixth house, okay? Because Virgo can lead to that anxiety. It's ruled by Mercury, okay? So Mars is in Virgo and it's transiting there for a lot of the Venus retrograde. In fact, Mars does not leave Virgo until, let me see about this real quick. I think I can figure out this pretty swiftly because I want to see Mars will move into Libra but it's important to know the date because I want you guys to like have your calendars out. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so there we go. Mars moves into Libra on August 27th. I say that because it could be overnight, 26th and the 27th. So for the majority of Venus retrograde, Mars will be in Virgo. Okay. So I'm going to put this little Mars symbol here. July 20th, Mars opposed Saturn. That's something to note because that's the gas and the brakes. Saturn is in your 12th house. The 12th house is spirituality, retreat, reflection. It can be illusion and delusion sometimes. It's dreams. It's very spiritual. It's very abstract. And Saturn is trying to bring form to it somehow. So, how does Saturn bring form to a formless sign like Pisces? And indeed, a formless house like the 12th house. It's very hard. But I think that it brings in some need to take that area seriously. And so retreat, reflection, spirituality, meditation, all of that stuff. And health. The 12th house can be your subconscious, your mental health, right? So you're doing some work there. Mars comes into your 6th house, which is daily life routine. It's kind of like the grind is the 6th house. But it's also pets, by the way. So let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. But Mars brings energy to that, and it's maybe busy and a lot of work. And Saturn's over here going, when do you take time for yourself? When do you get up and meditate in the morning? I don't know. Okay, so that's going to be happening just that one time, July 20th. Okay, but there's other things that are going to oppose Saturn from the same place, and Mercury will go retrograde in Virgo. So let's back up, and I'm going to start talking about the dates, but I just wanted to talk about where Mars and Saturn were for the majority of the Venus retrograde. Now, Saturn will be in Pisces the entire retrograde. It's retrograde itself right now. Neptune as well. Neptune's at the very late degrees of Pisces. This is Neptune over here. Neptune is kind of this abstract planet. It's spirituality, it's, boundlessness. And to have Neptune there, which can be also confusion, Mars will oppose Neptune later. So that can kind of create this other dynamic of needing to rest and needing to maybe get organized in one hand and also take time for meditation. And the funny part about Mars and Virgo and Saturn and Pisces is that's the crux of the problem. Is like I can't relax until I get organized and get my routine down pat. But I'm so exhausted that I can't get my routine down pat and I need to go take a nap. And then I can't. So it just feeds back on each other sometimes. So hopefully this Mars transit and the Mercury retrograde will help with that. Now let's go through some dates. Like I said, I'm going to draw something else on here because there's also two things that I have missing. If you'll notice, I've got Venus, Mars, the South Node, Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, North Node, Uranus, Jupiter, but where's the Sun and Mercury? We need those, right? So the reason, again, I didn't put this on the graphic is because they are going to move. So as Venus goes retrograde, the Sun moves into Leo almost immediately whenever Venus goes retrograde, okay? So the Sun rules Leo. This puts even more emphasis on your 5th house, which is creativity, inner child, children, play, fun, love, romance. Okay. Venus, its orbit is very close to the Sun. So it's never going to be that far away. It's either going to be in this sign, the same sign as the Sun, or the next sign. Okay. So to have the Sun and Venus retrograde together, that happens every time, and they will come together. So I love the dance. The Sun's moving forward, Venus passes it, Venus goes retrograde, they meet up again, and then Venus goes direct and they meet up again. So this is called a Venus star point. The Venus star points are really cool to look at, especially the one that you were born with. And there's ways to find it. I think you could probably just Google Venus star point, put in your birth time. So that Venus star point will happen August 13th, and it's looked at as a very positive moment in the retrograde, one where we may get a message from, the gods, whatever you want to say, but it's a positive time. That's August 13th. And then the other thing that's missing is Mercury. So let me get the Mercury symbol here that I had to do in the very beginning. and put it in for right now. And then I'll have to change it when it's time to change it. So Mercury is in Leo. Mercury is how we think, how we communicate. It's what our minds are on. So our minds and our purpose, the sun, our overall life force, and what we love and are reevaluating are all focused here in Leo right this moment. Okay. So it's a very powerful Leo time to try to, I guess, understand where you're coming from creatively, on a love level, on a purpose level, on a fun joy level, especially for Aries risings. Okay. So let me get the dates now and get your calendars out, and I'll try to go be clear and go. I don't know if I want to go fast or slow, but I'm going to try to go one of them and be consistent. How about that? All right. So we're at July 24th. So let me just start with July 25th, which is Tuesday, where I'm at. July 25th is the first quarter square of the moon, or is it the third quarter? No, it's the first quarter. Okay. So the moon will be up here in Scorpio, and we'll just draw a little moon. How about that? We'll make it a little moon there. There's the moon. All right. It's actually a half moon. So the first quarter square of the moon is when the moon squares the sun after the new moon. Okay. I put this on here because I think when this kicks off, when this Venus retrograde kicks off, even moon squares are going to bring it up. And that happens Tuesday, July 25th in your eighth house of shared resources. That's other people's money. That's, contracts, also investments, taxes. It would be grants. It would be people giving you money, the people you live with and what they're paying. That is all eighth house stuff. So watch for that. It's going to inform you. I think that's an easy way to put it and a sweet way to put it. July 27th, Mercury conjunct Venus. So Mercury moves forward, Venus is moving backwards. They come together and our minds go, oh, it's on. It's on. I know what I want now. All right. I think that's going to be a major moment where I think we are very, very aware of what's going on. So then we've got July 28th. And then so quickly, Mercury is now in Virgo with Mars. Okay. So Mercury in Virgo, Mercury rules Virgo. That's a big deal. And we know, because I've said it already, that Mercury is going to retrograde in Virgo. You mix Mercury retrograde and some Mars action, there's no telling, right? So Mercury in Virgo is extra focused on the details. It's extra wanting to get it right. But it's also going to go retrograde, which means we're going to have to rethink that area. So you're going to have Venus and Mercury retrograde at the same time. Also not unheard of. That can kind of happen a lot because Mercury is also close to the sun. Virgo is your sixth house. This is a really good way to learn which house it is for you. The sixth house is health, daily life, routines, and habits. Your mind is going to be on that. But what does that mean if Mercury is going into Virgo? Do you see what's opposite? Saturn. And Saturn is the wall. Okay, so a Mercury opposition to Saturn is imminent, by the way. All right, so let's go back to the dates. That was July 28th that Mercury moves into Virgo. July 29th and 30th and even 31st are what I think are going to be pretty good days. And there's several reasons for that, okay? So we'll go ahead and erase the moon here because the moon is going to be in Sagittarius first. And the Sagittarius moon is already optimistic, okay? Again, it's brief. The moon phases are very brief. I mean, lasting sometimes an hour and lasting sometimes a day, depending on what you're talking about. So with the moon in Sagittarius, it's going to trine the North Node and trine Venus in a grand trine. And then we've got this kind of really good luck moment here. So that is the 29th. Then we've got the 30th and the moon moves. Okay. So the moon is moving into Capricorn. And instead of having a grand fire trine now, where's my eraser? Erase. We've got a grand earth trine. Now, this one's interesting because it's going to be the moon in Capricorn, Jupiter, and Mars. Okay, so this is the 30th and 31st, a grand earth trine. This is in your career area, your money area, and your daily life, health, and habit area. Okay, so those are probably some of the best days in the next couple of weeks. I will say that. So pay attention, do your things on that day. It's going to help you get stuff done. It's going to help you make moves in the right direction. Okay, very, very important. Let's go ahead and erase the moon again. Now, August 1st is a full moon in Aquarius. This is the day that, it's like at least it's preceded by some good days, okay? Because this one may not be so fun. It is square Jupiter. So this full moon in Aquarius is ruled by Saturn as well. Aquarius is in traditional terms ruled by Saturn. So this is your 11th house, which is goals, networks, future. Okay, and this is August 1st again. And that full moon is going to bring up some of these Jupiter things, the money, the self-worth. Is that happening like you want it to? Are your goals the correct goals? Is the groups that you're networking with the correct groups? These are all questions you're going to ask yourself. Not every full moon is like this, but this one certainly is. And there's another thing going on August 1st. Mercury's opposite Saturn that day. So this may be, like on the lower end of the fun spectrum. Let me put it that way, August 1st. But if you know what's coming, which is a question, kind of, how do we reconcile the need for more assets, more money, or whatever it is that you're after, whatever it is that you value. Some people don't value money, and that's what the second house is about, your values. So yes, it's material assets, but maybe it's time. Maybe you value your time more than your money. Maybe you value, this over that. That's what's coming up, right? And is it going to cause your goals to need to change? And then at the same time, Mercury in your sixth house of health, daily life, and routine is receiving an obstacle from Saturn. This could be like, oh, I'm just so tired. It's been all for nothing. Hopefully it won't be like that. But that could be a feeling that comes up, like I've worked so hard on this. So just know that August 1st will come and go. And it's going to be a brief thing, but it is tied into this moon cycle. And it's going to be something that, if you know about it, may not be so bad. Let's just hope, right? It's good to go ahead and say, okay, if there's going to be a Mercury opposition to Saturn, I'm going to get prepared. I'm going to get my ducks in a row. I may even prepare to spend half the day sleeping, like with Saturn opposite Mercury, your brain may not work as well as it should. The communication may feel blocked. So, especially with Saturn ruling the full moon. Okay. August 6th, the sun squares Jupiter. Well, I mean, how bad could it be, right? Sun square Jupiter, it's overdoing it. That's really what is the simplest explanation for sun square Jupiter. Happens, every year, so it's not unheard of. We all go through sun square Jupiter every year, at least twice a year. Because the other would be an opposition, the other would be a conjunction. Okay, so that actually leads us into, and by the way, August 6th through 8th is what I put on here for the sun square Jupiter. It's just a lot of extra. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. It's a lot of extra. A lot of I want it all. I want the world. I want the whole world. I want to lock it all up in my pocket. It's my bar of chocolate, pretty much. Some people will experience some good things during sun square Jupiter because you'll feel like, showing out, basically. But then, as if to say, oh, you thought that was nice, because it's not. August 8th through 10th, Venus square Uranus. Okay. By the way, I don't know what's up with my voices. I'll speak in all different kind of voices. I don't know why I do that, but it's kind of like something I do. All right, so Venus square Uranus, August 8th through 10th. This is what I talked about early on in the video. And this can be unexpected events. It can be upheaval. It can be a sudden change in a relationship or a sudden change in money. Either way, good or negative, you just never know. You can't predict with Uranus. But it's definitely a moment where we know we have to change things. Okay. So again, second house finances and self-worth, Venus retrograde in your fifth house of creativity, trying to maybe help figure out what it is that you want to do, what it is that you need to do for yourself. And I say that last, the 8th through the 10th, because, it doesn't just happen and it's over. It kind of builds and then comes down. Now, August 13th is the Venus star point. That's in Leo, and it's pretty close to square Uranus itself. So it's going to be an interesting Venus star point this time, I think, with a square to Uranus. But I still think it's always a really good moment. So August 13th is good. Where's the moon that day? Let me look at August 13th. That's important. For the Venus star point. There we are. Moon's in Cancer as Venus is with the sun. Yep, 15 degrees of Cancer. So what's interesting is that means the moon will be sextile Jupiter and sextile Mercury. I think that's pretty nice. So the only thing going on is that square to Uranus with the star point. Very, very interesting. Put that on your calendars, but it could be opportunity. I mean, I'm wishing opportunity for all of you during that. Then we've got, we're in mid-August now, Mars trine Uranus. That's going to be interesting. See, Uranus is just shaking up everything through August. I mean, we're probably going to look back on August and go, oh, wow, that's like, things were changing. You know what I'm saying? So Mars trine Uranus is supportive. Trines are always really nice. They're flowing. They bring opportunity. So a trine to Uranus could be like, you know what? I'm changing things and it's working. I'm changing things and I have the energy to change things. I'm taking on a second job, or I'm changing jobs, or I'm quitting my job, or I'm getting rid of this pet. It's too expensive. That's terrible. Don't do that. But things like that. So I would definitely mark that as a time to take advantage of change. Okay. August 15th through 17th, take advantage of change. August 16th, right in the middle of the Mars trine Uranus, is the new moon in Leo, square Uranus. What? Like, I'm looking at this date, August 16th, and I'm like, I don't even know what to think. How is it going to be? I don't know. I really can't say. There's a new moon. I'm going to put the moon right here. New moon. That's the sun and the moon. And they are square from your fifth house of joy and creativity to Uranus in your second house of finances. Okay. And then you got Mars trine Uranus from your sixth house. So it's like, if you're feeling a certain way, the best thing to do is to clean up your house or is to, do something for your body, or is to do something in nature. That's going to help you come to a conclusion. Okay. Don't forget the new moon is a time of planting seeds. And this new moon being square to Uranus, we're planting a seed that we've never planted before. And it's based on what we want. It's based on our creative abilities. It's based on our creative desires. It's based on our romantic needs and inner child. And Uranus is like, hey, yeah, maybe that's your values now. Just look to Venus. Venus is telling you what your new values are. Okay. The new moon's like, all right, bet, let's plant a seed. Okay. That's the best way to describe it. August 16th. And then Mars is giving you the energy to act on it. Trine Uranus. So kind of excited, kind of like, whoa, what's going to happen that time for August 16th, new moon in Leo. Now, we've made it to August 16th. We only have to get to October 9th, y'all. Okay, Venus square Jupiter, August 22nd. That happens right before Mercury turns retrograde in Virgo and the sun enters Virgo. So we've got Venus square Jupiter on August 22nd, right here. watch your pocketbooks, August 22nd. Just be careful. Don't be overdoing it too much. It's just good to watch for excess around the Venus squares to Jupiter. However, this could be an insight into what means something to you, because Jupiter is philosophy. Jupiter is spiritual in nature. So this could be about meaning as well. And then August 23rd, old Mercury over here, our minds decide to take a turn around. They forgot their keys at home and they got to check out. They got to organize, their area. They got to make sure their paper is edited. That's Mercury retrograde, especially in your sixth house. In the sixth house, it is like reorganize, redo, get your list together, do your routine, make sure it's good. So Mercury turns retrograde August 23rd, and the sun enters Virgo. So you know what that means? It's time for me to draw a little bit again. Just after that new moon, August 16th, a week later, we got the sun in Virgo. All right, we're going to put the sun, we're going to put it right here in the center because I feel like it. I got to get the sun, though. I got to copy and paste it. All right. Boop, sun. Oh, man. Can I move it? Oh, let me move it. Oh, put the sun right there. Sun. Now the sun is in your sixth house. That puts extra energy into this area of routine, health, habits, pets, daily life, coworkers, you name it. The sun's there and Mercury is retrograde. Okay. So it's not that it's shifting away from fifth house topics, because you still have that going on and you still have second house topics going on. And in fact, the thing about the second house is that it's Taurus, which is an earth sign. Okay. Virgo is also an earth sign. So all this stuff is trining Jupiter and Uranus. And those trines are great. Okay. So we can say that it's not, Mercury retrograde is not, all bad. It's actually something that's going to help us tap into our abundance, tap into what we need to do every day in order to gain whatever it is that we want out of the second house. Okay. All right. So now that we got the sun and Mercury all up in Virgo, now Mercury is retrograde as of August 23rd. The sun's in Virgo as of August 23rd. August 27th, the sun, you know what? Let me not skip this. I was gonna, but I'm not going to. Mars is trine Pluto August 25th, and I haven't really spent any time on Pluto. Is Pluto a planet? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. But I like to think Pluto, with its significations in astrology, means something. It's empowerment, disempowerment. Pluto is transformation. Pluto is life, death, rebirth. Pluto is the god of the underworld. Okay. Mars, which is action and ego and implementation, and it's the gas, trining Pluto in your 10th house of career, by the way, because it's retrograde in Capricorn right now. It's going to move into Aquarius next year, but right now it is retrograde in Capricorn, and it's going to trine Mars. And that date, August 25th, could be a day where we also decide something that needs to happen, and this is it, and we know it, and we have to empower ourselves. Sixth house, health, daily life habits, 10th house, career, and public reputation. And then now I can move on to August 27th, which is the sun opposing Saturn. Okay. So we've got the sun here, and it's going to be opposite Saturn. It's kind of crooked because of where I put the sun, but that's okay. And this is again because we had Mercury. We had Mars opposite Saturn July 20th. Then we had Mercury opposite Saturn, and I can't remember exactly what date that was. Yeah, that was August 1st. So July 20th, Mars, August 1st, Mercury, and now we're at August 27th, and it's the sun. Okay. These are hits of boundaries, of walls, of obstacles, of mastery. Saturn's also mastery and its rules. And so it's just going to bring those themes up again. Okay. Now, the other thing that happens on this date, where am I again? I'm August 27th. Mars moves into Libra. All right. So again, with my terrible, what if I try to draw Mars this time? It's not that hard to draw. It's just not. It's a circle with a line. Mars in Libra. Mars. You're going to get every bit of weird, Mandy. I'm telling you, you're not going to get not weird, Mandy. There's Mars. Look at that. I drew one. Okay. Mars is moving into Libra August 27th as the sun opposes Saturn. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Mars, action, independence, the warrior, moves into Libra, very nice, balanced justice and beauty sign, right? Fairness. So Mars in Libra is not in its favorite place, okay? And it's going to bring some frustrations to relationship. But I do think it serves a purpose in letting us know exactly what our desires are. If you're getting mad at your spouse, what's going wrong, right? Like, what's wrong? So the thing about Mars moving into Libra is that it's going to start to pick up on this Venus retrograde theme because Libra is ruled by Venus. So the interesting thing is Venus is getting close to the end of its retrograde by August 27th. It goes direct September 3rd, right? So Venus is slow. It's very slow. Mars moving into Libra will eventually sextile Venus. A wide sextile, probably a degree away. It never exactly sextiles. Sextile is opportunity, but it's still a sextile. And it's going to inform this romance and relationship area. Okay. So something else to put on your calendar. Now, on August 30th, it's a full moon in Pisces with Saturn. So we already had the sun opposite Saturn. So it's not exactly with Saturn this full moon, but it's definitely close enough. Okay. So here's the full moon right here. And it could feel like I try so hard to tap into the feelings of what, these might be like. But with a full moon in Pisces, it's generally spacey, right? Like, ooh, I'm just feeling like escaping and all of this good stuff. But with Saturn there, Saturn's not totally into the spaciness, right? Saturn's like, hey, we need to bring some seriousness here. Like, you need to get healthy. It's time to get healthy. So, I mean, that full moon, it could just feel like, okay, it's time to do some work. Full moon in Pisces with Saturn, August 30th. And then September 3rd, we got this wonderful thing, Venus going direct. Oh, Venus has learned so much, right? So now we can actually, let's see if I can do this. Get purple. We're going to erase Venus retro because it's not retro on September 3rd. It's just Venus going direct. Yay. And then the other thing is September 4th, Mercury trines Jupiter. It's Mercury retrograde trine Jupiter. So there is this tapping into from your sixth house of health and routine again to your second house of money and assets. Okay, that's September 4th. So September 3rd and 4th are pretty big. I would say your mind's firing on all cylinders with Mercury retrograde trine Jupiter. And then September 6th, something even better happens. And that is the Mercury cazimi. And that is when Mercury and the sun come close together. Okay. They are right together on September 6th. And September 6th, they together trine Jupiter. So September 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, we pretty much have Mercury retrograde trine Jupiter, a Mercury cazimi trine Jupiter, and then the sun trine Jupiter. Okay. So that swath of time with Venus direct could be pretty nice. I'm really excited about that. We'll see. But Mercury cazimis are a time in which the retrograde is not exactly retrograding, right? It's like actually a message from the king is what a cazimi is looked at as. So our minds become aware of something and we go, oh, okay, I have an awareness of something I didn't have an awareness of before. And that's going to focus on your sixth house of daily life, which can be work, coworkers, routine, how you do your day, habits, health, pets, all of that is the sixth house to your second house of assets, money, and self-worth. So September, let's just say 4th through 8th for that. September 14th is a new moon in Virgo, trine Uranus. Now, this one's going to be interesting because also Mercury stations direct that day. So this is September 14th. All right, so let's look at this. Let's take a look at September 14th. New moon in Virgo. I need to draw the moon. All right, here's the sun. Whoop. Draw, Mandy. Here's the moon. New moon in Virgo. Are you not going to let me draw? I'm trying to draw on you. Oh, it's purple. I can't even see it. That's dumb. You do what you can, you know. All right, here we go. Sorry. Are you real? Oh, this drawing thing is getting to me. I thought it would be a lot easier. There's the moon. I'm just going to put the moon there. Sorry, it's a new moon. And it is trine Uranus. Okay, new moon in Virgo, sixth house, trine Uranus. Again, these themes, sixth house and second house, are coming up and they support each other. Okay, new moon, planting seeds, something different. You had the previous new moon square Uranus. This new moon is trine, supportive. Okay, so that's September 14th. You know what else happens? Mercury goes direct. So September 14th may feel like things are working. I'm making changes. We are doing this. Yes. And of course it does, because right after that, September 15th, Venus, now direct, trines Jupiter for the third time. Okay. So you got Venus now direct, trine Jupiter again. And that, again, those dates are September 15th through 18th. So it's going to feel good, right? Again, Venus square Jupiter. Did I say trine? Square. Sorry, my bad. Square Jupiter. This is a really big swath of time to undertake, and each video is going to be like 45 minutes. Square Jupiter, overdoing it, feeling good. Of course, we feel good after that swath of good days. Okay. So it's kind of expected. Just, you know, again, be aware of excess. September 19th, the sun opposes Neptune. That the sun in Virgo opposes Neptune in Pisces. Just let me say it very correctly so you know. Kind of a spacey feeling. That's really what sun opposite Neptune is. It can be delusional, so keep your feet on the ground. September 23rd. Actually, the 21st, the sun trines Pluto. Empowerment. So you get the sun opposite Neptune, and then almost immediately the sun trine Pluto to your career area. September 23rd, the sun moves into Libra, and Mars is really close to sextile Venus, which is awesome. So we're going to erase the sun here. And we're going to put the sun back in there. And this time it's in Libra. Okay, so here's the interesting thing about the sun moving into Libra. Leo is ruled by the sun. Venus retrograde is looking to the sun to explain what's going on. So the whole time the sun's in Virgo, Venus retrograde in your fifth house is also looking at the sixth house and going, you know, if I maybe could be more happy and creative if my routine was better or something like that. Well, then the sun moves into Libra, your seventh house of relationships. Venus direct is still answering to the sun. And that's what we need to know about the sun moving into Libra during this time. All right, so I'm going to put the sun here. Sun in Libra. And then what else is going on around that time, around sun in Libra? Mars is sextile Venus. Okay, so I mean, again, it's not exactly sextile, but relationships and romance are looking at each other and they're in an opportunistic connection. September 24th, the day after, Mercury direct trines Jupiter for the third time. So Mercury's trining Jupiter 3 times. Again, Jupiter becoming this triple aspected planet, which is really good, but we may be speaking our minds. Mars opposes Chiron, which I don't have here. Chiron's in Aries, which is your first house of self. healing your identity, your independence, yourself. Mars opposite that could be a little sensitive in your seventh house of relationships. I mean, someone may just say something to you the wrong way. But Mercury trine Jupiter is like, oh, don't let that happen. So Mercury could be popping off at the mouth September 24th because of a Chiron Mars situation. Okay. September 28th, Venus squares Uranus for the last time. And September 29th, we're going to give it 2 days. That is, again, unexpected, could be innovation, could be change, could be upheaval, could be freedom, depending on what it's about, right? From your second house of finances to your fifth house of inner child and self. And then September 29th is the full moon in Aries. And this is the last lunation before the eclipses, okay? So that's something to note. September 29th, full moon in Aries. It's going to be, let me actually look at that. September 29th. I just want to see the chart really quick. Look and see what the moon's trining or not trining. It's at 5 degrees. Really isn't interacting with anything. Or is it 6 degrees? No, okay, so it's at 5 or 6 degrees Aries. I'm trying to figure that out. It takes a minute. It's not interacting with anything. So it's at 6 degrees, exactly 6 degrees in 0 minutes. And its ruler is Mars, which is kind of sextile Venus at the time. So I would say this is a time in which, again, you're learning exactly what you want to appear as to people. It's the identity spot in your chart, full moon in Aries. Okay. So then we've got October coming in hot. October 1st, Venus trines the north node and the south and sextile the south node with Mars. So October 1st seems to be another like cherry on top to this Venus retrograde story. October 3rd is when Mars conjoins the south node exactly. And I'm looking over here at this thing, the south node. So Mars and the south node come together exactly October 3rd, which is going to inform you a lot about what the eclipses are going to be about for you, relationships. So that you could look at that, especially as an Aries rising, as a moment where you end something or change something for good or try your best to get out of the same old pattern. And then October 7th, we've got Venus at the 29th degree of Leo. What does that mean? That means it's sitting at the anaretic degree. That is the degree of crisis. Does that mean a crisis is going to happen? No, but this is the degree, the last degree of Leo. After all of that retrograde, it is like, what is the finishing theme here? Then October 9th, Venus over here moves into Virgo, and the Venus and Leo story is over. So that takes you through the full moon in Aries, you guys, all the way through Venus retrograde. So, and back. All right. I hope this was informative. Go to ecstaticastrology.com. I forget, my brain's mush after that long video. Ecstaticastrology.com for more info. And if you want to book a session with me, and otherwise, I will catch you on the flip side around October 14th. Maybe before that, probably before that, for the nodes and the eclipses videos. And that'll take you through December. All right, y'all. Talk to you soon.